No one at Rosewood Hills expected the German Shepherd to stop mid-step, let alone freeze and growl at the furniture. It was a sunny Tuesday, and the air smelled like cinnamon toast and fresh polish, the usual at this quiet little nursing home, tucked into the hills of upstate New York. But as the residents gathered in the rec room for their weekly music hour, K9 Luna didn't do what she was trained to do. She didn't wag her tail. She didn't sit politely. She didn't greet residents like she usually did. Instead, she stared at the green velvet sofa near the corner of the room, muscles tight, eyes locked, ears pinned forward. And then she growled, a low, steady growl that silenced the strumming of the guitar, the laughter of the old women, and even the steady murmur of the television in the hall. Then, as if possessed by instinct itself, she lunged toward the couch and began clawing at the side like she was trying to get to something or someone inside it. People gasped. One nurse shouted her name, but Officer Rachel Dawson, Luna's handler, didn't stop her. Not yet. Because Rachel had learned long ago. Luna didn't bark without a reason. That day Luna wasn't looking for attention. She was trying to tell them something. Rachel had been bringing Luna to Rosewood Hills every Tuesday morning for the last 6 months. Technically, Luna was a retired K9 detection dog. Her patrol days were over, but her nose, sharp as ever, still worked overtime. That's why Rachel started bringing her to nursing homes and schools, to give her a second life. Therapy. Work comfort visits. Good PR for the department, easy. Until now, every visit had gone smoothly, but not this one. Sorry, everyone, Rachel said, quickly clipping Luna's leash and pulling her back. She must have caught a whiff of something strange in the fabric. Maybe spilled food? The nurse in charge, Pam, gave a nervous laugh. Oh, that couch. It's been here longer than I have. God knows what's inside it. The residents chuckled, tension broken. The guitar strummed again. Luna sat but kept her eyes trained on the couch like it was alive. Rachel knew that look. An hour later, most of the residents had shuffled off for lunch. Only a few remained behind. One of them was Mr. Halpern. He sat in a wooden chair by the window, back straight, eyes cloudy but aware. "So would you, Kivet?" the staff said. Sharp mind but rarely spoke. Except now. He looked at Rachel, then down at Luna, then back up. "She knows," he said quietly. "That one sees what they won't let me say." Rachel crouched beside him. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, "There are things here. Things no one wants to talk about. Not since Eliza, not since the fall." "Eliza?" He nodded once, slowly. "They called it a stroke, but I know what it was. And that dog, she smells the truth, don't she?" Rachel felt a chill creep across her shoulders. Back at the station later that evening, Rachel couldn't stop thinking about that sofa, about Luna's reaction, about Mr. Halpern's warning. It was probably nothing, she told herself. An old man's imagination. An old dog's nose picking up mold or rats or whatever. Nothing to do with a dead woman named Eliza. And yet, Luna had never reacted like that before. Not once. Rachel made a decision. She came back that night after visiting hours. The front desk was unmanned. The hallway lights buzzed overhead. Luna walked quietly at her side, eyes alert, tail stiff. In the recreation lounge, the green velvet couch stood in its usual spot under the window. It looked innocent, ordinary, except for the way Luna immediately pulled toward it again, pawing at the armrest like she was trying to dig through the fabric. Rachel took a breath, looked around. No one was watching. She unhooked the utility knife from her belt and knelt beside the sofa. With Luna beside her, Rachel sliced carefully into the side panel. Foam spilled out. Dust. And something else. Wrapped in plastic. Tucked. Deep behind the backrest was a small scuffed-up phone. A burner. Rachel's pulse quickened. She checked the battery. 1%. Just enough to power it on. 3 audio files. Dated 3 months ago. She plugged in her charger and hit play. A man's voice came through the speaker. Rough, nervous, shaking slightly. "I didn't mean for her to die, I swear. I just wanted her quiet. She kept saying she'd tell someone. And I panicked. Simmons said the meds would calm her down, but it was too much. It was too much. Rachel's stomach turned. Eliza. The confession kept going, the voice cracking. I hid the phone in the couch, just in case. If anything happens, I'm sorry, I didn't want to do it. But you don't say no to Simmons. Rachel stopped the recording, hand trembling. Simmons. As in Director Simmons, the man who ran the nursing home? Luna whined softly beside her. She looked down at the dog and whispered, "Good girl." If you're finding this story as gripping as I think you are, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Heroes for Animals, where stories like Luna's remind us just how powerful our four-legged friends truly are. Rachel knew she couldn't sit on this. She needed backup. But if what she'd heard was true, and if Director Simmons really was involved in something, this couldn't go to just anyone. She called a friend at the state police, gave a light summary, asked if they could meet discreetly in the morning. Then, with the phone still charging in her passenger seat and Luna curled quietly in the back, she drove home. Sleep didn't come easy that night. All she could hear was that voice on the recording. All she could see was Luna, staring at that couch, like it was trying to speak, and all she could feel was a knot growing tighter in her chest. Because this wasn't just a random incident. This was a warning from a dying woman. And Luna had made sure it wouldn't stay buried. The next morning, Rachel Dawson parked her cruiser 2 blocks away from the county substation. She didn't want to risk being seen with the phone. Not yet. This wasn't a normal chain of command situation. What she'd found at Rosewood Hills felt bigger, more fragile. And after hearing that voice whisper, "You don't say no to Simmons," she knew she had to tread carefully. Inside the local diner across from the station, Rachel slid into a booth with Detective James Cartwright. He was with the state police, older than her by a decade, someone she trusted. He stirred his coffee, with the same calm rhythm he always had, but she could see it in his eyes. He knew she wasn't here to shoot the breeze. "You sure you want to show me this in public?" he asked. Rachel handed over the burner phone already queued up to the first audio file. "Just listen." He pressed play. For the next 90 seconds, the words hung heavy between them. The frightened confession, the mention of sedatives, the name Simmons. When it ended, Cartwright leaned back in the booth, his face unreadable. "That's a hell of a thing," he said. "Yeah," Rachel replied. "And it's just the first file. There are 2 more. Has anyone else heard it?" "No, not yet, but I couldn't keep it to myself." Cartwright nodded slowly. "Good instincts, Dawson. We'll need to verify the voice, get a warrant, maybe talk to the coroner who signed off on the death certificate." Rachel leaned in. "I need to ask something weird." "Go ahead." "If I hadn't had Luna with me yesterday, that phone would still be buried in that sofa, maybe forever." Cartwright smiled faintly. "Dogs are funny like that, especially good ones." Back at Rosewood Hills, things looked the same on the surface. Residents shuffled slowly to morning activities. Nurses passed out pill trays and smiles. No alarms. No chaos. But Rachel noticed the small things. Mr. Halpern wasn't in his usual chair. When she asked Nurse Pam, she paused before answering. "He's in his room this morning, not feeling well." Rachel nodded, but something about her tone didn't sit right. Luna pulled gently on the leash, guiding Rachel toward the north hallway, where the long-term memory care rooms were. Room 14. Halpern's door was slightly ajar. Rachel knocked, then stepped inside. Mr. Halpern sat on his bed, staring out the window. He didn't turn when she entered. "Mr. Halpern," she said softly. "It's Officer Dawson. Luna's here too." Only then did he look. His expression was drawn tight, pale in a way that unsettled her. "You shouldn't have come back," he said. "They know now. They always know." "Who knows?" Rachel asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I heard them last night," he replied. "Whispers in the hallway. They were talking about Eliza again. talking about the couch being cut. About you. Rachel crouched beside him. You're safe, I promise you that. His hand trembled as he reached for Luna, who gently pressed her head into his lap. You don't understand, he whispered. She was trying to expose them. She wrote letters, told me she had proof. Then one night she was just gone. They said she had a stroke, but I heard the thud. I heard her fall. And Simmons told everyone to forget. To forget. Rachel swallowed hard. Did anyone else know about the letters? Maybe Carl. He used to help her organize books in the library. He liked her. Rachel stood. Thank you. I'll look into it. She found janitor Carl outside, hosing down the back patio near the garden. Carl, Rachel called out. Got a second? He turned, blinking against the sun. Sure thing, officer. Everything okay? Just had a question about Eliza. His body stiffened just enough for her to notice. What about her? I heard you used to help her in the library. Did she ever mention anything unusual before she passed? Carl glanced around, then lowered his voice. Eliza was sharp, too sharp. She didn't trust Simmons. Told me once that she thought someone was messing with patient meds. Said if she ever turned up dead, I should check her blue notebook. Rachel frowned. Where is it now? No idea. After she died, all her stuff disappeared overnight. That afternoon, Cartwright called with an update. We got confirmation from the ME's office. Eliza's death certificate listed natural causes, no autopsy. But here's the kicker. The sedative she was supposedly prescribed never made it to the pharmacy logs. Rachel paced her kitchen. So, it wasn't prescribed? Nope. Someone gave it to her off the record. We're working on a warrant for Simmons' office. In the meantime, keep your head down. We're not ready to go public yet. Got it. That night, Rachel tossed and turned in bed. Luna lay at the foot, alert as always. Around 2 a.m., Luna jolted upright, ears twitching. A second later, Rachel's phone buzzed, unknown number. She answered, a man's voice, shaky, quiet. Please don't tell anyone I called. I found your number in Eliza's things. I used to work night shift at Rosewood. I saw something the night she died. Rachel sat up, heart pounding. Who is this? I'm nobody. I left after that. Night, I couldn't sleep anymore. She wasn't sick. She didn't fall. She was given something. I saw Simmons and Carl dragging her to her room after she collapsed. They locked the door and told me to forget it. Do you have proof? No, just nightmares, but she gave me a USB once, said to hide it. I still have it. Can you meet me? A pause. Tomorrow night, the old library downtown. After closing, I'll leave it under the front bench. Then the line went dead. The next evening, Rachel stood outside the abandoned library, hand on her holster, Luna beside her. She found the USB drive tucked under, the bench exactly where the man had said it would be. Back in her car, she plugged it into her laptop. A folder labeled Rosewood Truth opened. Dozens of files, photos, PDFs, scanned notes, names, dates, dosage charts. Handwritten warning signed Eliza H. It was everything, everything. Rachel looked over at Luna in the passenger seat, her ears, perked eyes watching the dark street beyond the windshield. You did good, girl, she whispered. Real good. But she also knew. This wasn't over. Someone had killed Eliza to silence her. And now that the truth was coming out, someone else might be next. Rachel Dawson sat alone in her cruiser outside the old library, hands gripping the steering wheel as the USB drive glowed faintly in her laptop. The files were damning. Dozens of scanned notes in neat cursive, dosage logs not found in official records, and names of at least 4 residents marked DNR under questionable circumstances. And each of those names came with a matching file labeled Final Medication, Lorazepam, Unauthorized. Unauthorized. Rachel felt sick. Eliza had documented everything, quietly, methodically, right up until her death. God, Eliza, Rachel whispered, you didn't just try to expose them, you built the whole damn case. In the passenger seat, Luna shifted, ears flicking toward the dark lot behind them. She let out a low whine, not a warning, just unsettled. Yeah, I feel it too, Rachel muttered, pulling the drive and tucking it into her vest. Let's go. Time to make this official. The next morning, Rachel handed the USB to Detective Cartwright. They reviewed every file together in the back office of the state police building. His reaction shifted slowly. Disbelief, then disgust, then something colder. This is bigger than just Simmons, he muttered. These signatures, they go all the way back. 10 years, maybe more. Rachel nodded. What do we do next? We lock it down. I'm getting a warrant for Rosewood, Simmons, Carl, the pharmacy vendor. Full sweep. But I'll need a day or two. It has to go through Albany. Rachel frowned. That long? We do it sloppy. And they'll lawyer up before we can blink. Patience. But Rachel had a bad feeling in her chest, a pressure that hadn't let up since the couch. And something Mr. Halpern had said kept echoing in her mind. They always know. That afternoon, Rachel drove back to Rosewood Hills to check on Halpern. But when she arrived, his room was empty. Nurse Pam met her in the hallway. Oh, Mr. Halpern, she said, biting her lip. He, was transferred this morning. Family requested a move to another facility. Rachel froze. Which family? Pam glanced nervously at the file in her hands. I'm not sure. It was all last minute. Let me see the transfer form. Pam hesitated. I'm not allowed. Rachel stepped closer. Let me make something real clear. If Mr. Halpern was moved without actual family consent and anything happens to him, this entire facility will be shut down so fast your shoes won't touch the floor. Pam swallowed hard. I'll go find the file. Rachel and Luna waited in the hallway, tension thick in the air. Minutes passed. Then more. Pam didn't come back. Rachel finally pushed open the office door and found it empty. The cabinet drawer where transfer forms were kept hung open, half the folders missing. Damn it, she rushed out, heading for the East Wing exit. But Nurse Pam was gone. Vanished. That night, Rachel couldn't sleep. She sat in her living room, Luna's head resting on her knee, the television playing softly in the background. But her mind raced. They were scrubbing things, moving people, destroying records. Someone tipped Simmons off. Maybe it was Carl, maybe someone even higher. But Halpern was gone, and he was the last living witness besides Rachel herself. Unless there was something Eliza left behind, something even more direct. Rachel grabbed the burner phone and replayed the second audio file. This time, she caught something she'd missed before. Told me to give it to her after dinner. I was scared. She had the notebook, and I knew she was going to show it to the press. Simmons said we couldn't let that happen. She rewound it. Show it to the press. Eliza hadn't just planned to report it. She was going public. Maybe she had sent something off before they got to her. Maybe someone outside Rosewood knew. Rachel pulled up the old file archive and checked Eliza's visitor logs. For months before her death, she'd had regular weekly visits from someone named Clara Whitmore. No relation listed, no emergency contact note. But the name was consistent. Rachel typed it into the department database. Clara Whitmore, age 52, retired nurse, last known address, Syracuse, NY. That was only 40 miles away. By morning, Rachel was already on the road, Luna in the passenger seat. She found Clara's small bungalow nestled near the edge of a wooded park. American flag on the porch, garden pots in a row, wind chimes tinkling softly. Clara answered the door in slippers, her graying hair tied back. Can I help you? She asked, cautious. Ma'am, I'm Officer Rachel Dawson. I work with K9 Luna. I'm here about Eliza Hampton. Clara's eyes widened. Eliza? Is she? She passed away. But I believe she tried to reach out before it happened. And I think you might have been the last person she trusted. Clara stepped aside without a word and let them in. The living room was lined with books, stacks of paper, medical texts, journals, newspaper clippings. Clara gestured toward a box by the window. She sent me that package 2 days before the nursing home said she had a stroke. It was full of notes, copies of charts, even photos. I tried to report it, but they said there was no crime. They were wrong, Rachel said. They spent the next 2 hours going through every document. Some of them matched the USB files. Some didn't. One stood out, a scanned letter Eliza had written to the Department of Health naming Simmons and listing medication discrepancies. It had been postmarked, but never acknowledged. They buried it, Clara said bitterly. She tried everything. Rachel took photos of everything. She didn't fail, she was just early. We have the rest now. Luna barked once, loud and sharp, as if agreeing. On her drive back to the city, Rachel's phone rang. Cartwright. We got the warrant, he said. State's moving in at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Don't go back to Rosewood tonight. It's safer this way. Rachel gripped the wheel. Too late for that. What do you mean? I think Simmons already made a move. Mr. Halpern's gone. Nurse Pam disappeared. I think they're covering their tracks fast. Cartwright cursed under his breath. Get home, lock the drive, back it up. No. Hero moves tonight. But Rachel didn't answer. She was already turning the wheel, back toward Rosewood Hills, because the truth wasn't going to wait until morning, and neither was she. Rachel pulled into the rear lot of Rosewood Hills just after midnight. The facility loomed ahead, its windows dark except for a few dim hallway lights bleeding through the curtains. She turned off her headlights and sat quietly in the car, the soft clicking of Luna's breathing the only sound. She should have waited for the warrant. Cartwright was right. It would only be a few hours, but something deeper than logic pulled her here. A gut feeling, a thread that hadn't unraveled yet. Mr. Halpern's sudden transfer, Pam disappearing, the files being wiped. If Simmons had any sense at all, he was probably in there right now destroying the last of the evidence. Rachel slipped on her jacket, checked her flashlight, and looked at Luna in the passenger seat. You ready, girl? Luna let out a low huff, quiet but alert, and stepped down from the cruiser. The back entrance was locked, of course, but Rachel knew the keypad hadn't been updated in years. She tapped in the old fire code, 1993, and the door clicked. Inside, the hallway smelled like disinfectant and lavender. Too clean, too calm. She moved carefully, hugging the wall as Luna stayed at her side. The building was eerily silent. No foot traffic, no distant television chatter from the night shift crew, and that's what bothered her. Rosewood was never silent. She passed the recreation lounge, then the kitchen, dark, empty. At the administrator's office, she paused. Light bled through, the frosted glass under the door. Someone was inside. She stepped closer. The murmur of voices drifted out. 2 men, one low and slow, the other nervous, shaky. Rachel crouched beside the door, pulled out her phone, and hit record. We don't have time, the nervous one said. What if someone already saw the files? Then we deny everything, said the deeper voice. Simmons. They don't have chain of custody, nothing admissible. It's her word against ours. They've got that dog, though. It found the phone. That dog doesn't testify in court. Rachel clenched her jaw. There was a rustling, then the sound of something being dumped into a bin. Files. She stood, heart pounding, and turned the knob. The door creaked open slowly. Simmons looked up from his desk, eyes wide. Carl, the janitor, was beside him, holding a metal trash can and a stack of folders. You shouldn't be here, Simmons said quickly. Neither should you, Rachel replied. Back away from the desk, now. I told you this was over, he said, standing slowly. Whatever you think you have, it's circumstantial. None of it holds in court. I've got a confession on tape, unauthorized sedatives, witnesses, a whistleblower with backups. Oh, and a USB full of internal records Eliza sent out before you murdered her. Simmons narrowed his eyes. You can't prove anything. Maybe not yet. But the state police will be here in less than 5 hours. You want to explain to them why you're burning documents at 12:30 in the morning? Carl shifted uncomfortably. Luna stepped into the room, her eyes locked on Simmons. That's when Carl snapped. I didn't mean to hurt her, he shouted. I just gave her what you said. You told me it would calm her down. Simmons turned on him. Shut up. Rachel raised her voice. Carl, I suggest you stop protecting him and start protecting yourself. This is your chance to cooperate. Don't go down with him. Carl looked like he might cry. He dropped the bin. Check the basement, he said. There's more, he said, to hide the records in the old patient archives. I didn't know what was in them, I swear. Rachel pulled out her radio. Unit 5-3 requesting immediate backup at Rosewood Hills. 2 suspects on site. 1 cooperating. Scene secure. Simmons didn't move, but the mask was gone. His face was cold now. Mechanical. You think this matters, he said, almost amused. You shut me down? Another one of me takes over in 6 months. Same building, new logo. Rachel stared him down. Maybe, but not with the blood of 4 people on your hands. Not this time. By 4:15 a.m., the state police had taken Simmons and Carl into custody. The basement archives were unlocked with Carl's keys. Inside, Rachel and Cartwright found 3 boxes of shredded prescriptions, altered intake forms, and medical records with names that matched Eliza's notes. It was the last nail in the coffin. Cartwright looked over at Rachel as they stepped into the fresh morning air. You did good, he said. That dog of yours, she's something else? Rachel looked down at Luna, who sat obediently at her feet, tired but alert. She always knows, Rachel said quietly. Later that day, news broke, statewide. The headline read, Nursing Home Director Arrested in Medication Cover-Up. K-9 Unit Uncovers Hidden Evidence. Eliza Hampton's name was mentioned. So was Mr. Halpern, who was quickly located in a private hospital 2 counties over. The family transfer had been forged. He was safe now, and after being informed of the arrests, he asked to see Luna. Rachel promised she'd bring her by. The Department of Health launched an internal audit on facilities across the state. Whistleblower protections were strengthened, and the state began tracking sedative use in long-term care homes with renewed oversight. A week later, Rachel stood once again in front of the green velvet couch in the rec room of Rosewood Hills. It had been removed from the corner and pushed against the wall, its side still torn open. She knelt beside it. I don't know how you knew, she whispered to Luna. But you were right. You always are. Luna licked her hand. Across the room, a new resident smiled softly and clapped her hands when she saw the dog. And just like that, it felt like the building could breathe again. The local news didn't move on as quickly as Rachel Dawson thought. It would for a few days. The Rosewood Hills case held front-page attention. Journalists interviewed families of residents, former staff members, even healthcare watchdog groups. And while Rachel had always preferred to work in the background, she was asked more than once to speak on behalf of the investigation. She declined. This wasn't her story. It was Eliza's and Luna's. 10 days after the arrests, Rachel returned to Rosewood Hills, not as a cop, but as a friend. A few of the residents were still there, the ones not transferred out during the emergency review. The place looked different now. The hallway smelled less sterile, and the rec room had a few new potted plants, a new couch, and for the first time, actual sunlight streaming through freshly cleaned windows. But what hadn't changed was Mr. Halpern. He sat in his usual corner, wrapped in a blanket, his hands folded neatly on his lap. When he saw Rachel walk in with Luna trotting beside her, his eyes lit up. You came back, he said. Told you I would, Rachel replied, pulling up a chair. How are you holding up? They say I might move to a different place. One closer to my daughter in Buffalo. That sounds good. I'll miss this view, he said, motioning to the garden outside the window. But I won't miss the ghosts. Luna placed her head gently on his knee, and he chuckled. She remembers. She never forgets, Rachel replied. Outside, Rachel met with one of the new administrators, a woman named Karen Holt. She was stern but honest and clearly working overtime to fix what had been broken. We're rebuilding everything, she said, from the medication system to the oversight process, but it's a long road. Rachel nodded. I'm glad you're trying. People deserve better than what they had here. They do, Karen agreed. And it's not just Rosewood. You'd be shocked how many places operate under the radar. I'm not shocked anymore, Rachel said. I just want people to pay attention. Karen hesitated, then added, We're holding a memorial service next week for Eliza. Quiet but respectful. Some of the staff who cared about her, who weren't part of all this, they want to say goodbye. Rachel paused. I'd like to come. You should. That evening, Rachel sat on her porch at home, watching the sky shift from orange to lavender. Luna lay at her feet, eyes closed, her body finally relaxed after days of high tension. Rachel sipped her tea and opened a letter. It was from Clara Whitmore, the woman Eliza had trusted most. Inside were copies of new forms, an official complaint, filed with the Department of Health, a transcript of the letter Eliza had tried to send a year ago, and a note. She thought she failed, but she didn't. You and Luna made sure of that. Rachel folded the paper, heart full. Then she reached into her desk drawer and pulled out the burner phone one last time. She played the third audio file, the one they'd saved for the court hearing. It was the most emotional of them all. Eliza's voice, quiet but firm. If you're hearing this, I'm probably already gone, but that means someone found the phone. Maybe someone with a badge. Maybe someone with a dog. If so, thank you. Thank you for believing us, for caring, for seeing what no one else wanted to see. Rachel closed her eyes, and for a moment, the air felt still, peaceful. The next week, Rachel attended Eliza's memorial service with Luna beside her. It was held in the courtyard garden of Rosewood Hills, beneath the tall sycamore trees where Eliza used to sit and read to the residents. The new staff had planted a patch of lilies in her honor. A plaque stood nearby. In memory of Eliza Hampton, truth seeker, beloved friend, never forgotten. Clara was there too, holding a small photograph of Eliza in her younger days, smiling, strong, a nurse's badge pinned proudly to her scrubs. After the service, several residents and family members came over to pet Luna. She's the one who started it all, huh? One woman asked. Rachel nodded. She knew something wasn't right before any of us did. Another man, whose mother had passed away at Rosewood the year before, added quietly, I always thought it was natural. What happened to her, but now I'm not so sure, thank you. For everything. Rachel didn't know what to say. So she just knelt down, rested a hand on Luna's shoulder, and let the silence speak. Later that afternoon, Rachel met with Cartwright for coffee at the same diner where they'd first discussed the case. This time the air felt lighter. You know, he said, this whole thing started because your dog didn't like a couch. Rachel laughed softly. She's picky. Cartwright sipped his coffee. State attorney's office is putting together a formal commendation. They want to recognize you and Luna for your role in the investigation. That's not necessary. I told them you'd say that. But they're doing it anyway. Rachel shook her head. Eliza should be the one getting the award. Cartwright leaned back. She will, posthumously. And we're pushing for new oversight laws under her name. Eliza's bill, better tracking for sedative prescriptions and internal audits in elder care homes. Rachel looked down at Luna. She'd like that. She'd be proud of you. And the dog. Luna barked once, just loud enough to make a point. They both laughed. As they walked out of the diner, Cartwright paused. You ever think about putting Luna back in the field? He asked. She's retired. She earned it. Yeah, but maybe not full time. Just the important stuff. When people need her. Rachel considered it. She tells me where to go. I just follow. He smiled. That's how it should be. That night, Rachel drove home with Luna's head resting on the center console. They passed quiet fields, glowing porch lights, and sleepy streets that didn't know how close they'd come to letting something horrible slip by unnoticed. And somewhere, beneath the hum of the engine and the rustling wind, Rachel thought about all the people like Eliza, people who saw something, said something, and were silenced. But this time, one voice got through. Because one dog wouldn't stop barking. 3 months later, life had started to move forward again. Rosewood. Hills had a new name now, Cedarview Care Center. Most of the staff had been replaced. The building had been repainted, the lobby redecorated, and a new therapy garden planted out back. On the surface, it looked like a completely different place. But Rachel Dawson knew better. Some buildings hold memories in their walls, and some dogs never forget the scent of lies. Luna had returned to her therapy visits. The community loved her, more than ever. At the local elementary school, kids squealed with joy whenever they saw her. At the VA center, she sat for hours beside veterans with weary eyes and folded flags on their walls. And at Cedar View, formerly Rosewood, she was greeted like a hero. Mr. Halpern had since moved in with his daughter, but he wrote Rachel often. In every letter, he asked her how Luna was doing and always signed off with, "She saved more than just lives. She saved our dignity." Rachel kept every note in a shoebox marked "Letters for Luna." One warm Saturday afternoon, Rachel received an invitation. The state of New York, in partnership with the Department of Health and the governor's office, was holding a public ceremony to officially sign Eliza's law, a sweeping new elder care reform bill. The event would be held at the state capitol, and both Rachel and Luna were invited to attend. She hadn't expected it. Honestly, she didn't want attention, but she couldn't say no, because it wasn't about her. It was about Eliza. The ceremony was simple, respectful. Several families of former Rosewood residents were in attendance, as were journalists, lawmakers, and advocates for elder rights. Rachel stood on stage in her uniform while Luna sat at her feet, wearing a polished service vest with a small silver badge. The governor spoke about accountability and integrity. A nurse advocate shared her own story of reporting abuse in a different facility and being ignored. And then, Rachel was asked to say a few words. She hadn't written anything down. She didn't want a speech. She just spoke from the heart. "I'm here today because one woman refused to stay silent, and because one dog refused to look away. Eliza Hampton saw something wrong and did everything she could to make it right, even when it cost her life. Luna, my canine partner, followed her instincts, and in doing so uncovered the truth." She paused and looked down at Luna. Sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they just have 4 legs, a wagging tail, and the kind of heart that won't quit. The audience stood in applause, and for the first time, Rachel allowed herself to feel the weight of it, not just the justice, but the healing. Back at home that evening, Rachel and Luna curled up on the porch again. The sun dipped low behind the trees, and the air was full of cicada hums and birdsong. Rachel opened her laptop and began typing up a blog entry for the precinct website. It wasn't part of any assignment. She just wanted to document it. Before the world forgot, she titled it, "The Dog Who Heard What No One Else Would." She wrote about the first moment Luna growled at that green velvet couch, about Eliza's voice on the phone, about Mr. Halpern's quiet bravery, and about what it meant to care, not just to perform your job, but to truly pay attention when someone was trying to be heard. She ended the post with a simple line, "We can't change what happened, but we can make sure it never happens again." The next morning, Rachel opened her mailbox to find a package addressed to Officer Rachel Dawson and Canine Luna. No return address. Inside was a photograph. It showed Eliza, smiling, seated on a park bench, holding a book. Luna sat beside her, head on her lap. It must have been taken by Clara months before Eliza's death. Rachel held it for a long time. Underneath the photo was a single sentence typed on cardstock. She trusted the dog more than anyone, and the dog was right. A few weeks later, Luna was officially retired from any future assignments. She still made her rounds, of course, but no more digging through evidence. No more late-night searches. Rachel decided it was time for her partner to rest. But Luna never lost her edge. She still sat alert when Rachel buckled her vest. Still perked up when they passed a school, a church, or a nursing home. And occasionally, when the air turned cold or the wind carried a strange scent, she would stop, ears stiff, eyes focused, and Rachel would pause too because she knew. Luna always listened when others didn't, and Luna always knew when something was wrong. In the years that followed, The story of what happened at Rosewood Hills became part of the local consciousness. It was taught in law enforcement training seminars, used in medical ethics classes, referenced in watchdog reports. But to most people, it was just a story from the news. Something tragic, something important, something that happened once and wouldn't happen again. But Rachel carried it with her every day, because it didn't just happen once. It happens in small ways, in quiet places, when we stop paying attention. And it was the smallest things. A whisper, a file, a bark, that made the difference. So to everyone who's followed this journey with Luna, from the first growl at that forgotten couch, to the arrest that shook a system, to the bill that now protects the voiceless, thank you. Thank you for listening, for staying, for caring. And before we end, we want to ask you something important. If a dog barked at something you couldn't see, would you take a second look? And if someone whispered the truth, would you be the one who heard it?